What's up, y'all? You know what time it is. It's about to be that time.
Hello, everybody. We're back. We are live with 1165. Excited to get into this. This should be the beginning of the end for God Valley. I don't know if Oda is going to drag this out to where this is a massive fight that does not conclude in this particular chapter. I feel like with the way that he's been speed running a lot of the events, this fight could end in this chapter, and then the rest of the flashback is the epilogue and aftermath of this. But either way, we shall see. I'm skeptical if we'll find out at all where, do any sort of wrap up with Eris and Kuma. But since Kuma's fruit sends you only to places that the user has been, there may be some sort of wrap-up at Sorbet. But I mean, like, how omniscient are we going to continue being with this flashback? Whose perspective is it from? As it seems to be from everybody's perspective. Omniscient. Regardless, we have been eating. I've been enjoying it. We'll see what happens before we get into everything. Before we get into the read, shout out to everybody in the chat. Make sure to hit the like button so people know that we are live. And a thank you to Veronica for the donation before the stream. She was excited about the ace casting. Sholo, I am your brother, and then a bunch of emojis. Appreciate it. Yeah. Got casting announcements for Bon Clay and Ace. So, Tony Award winner Cola Scola will be Bon Clay. And Sholo Maraduena. Long speculated. Will be Port Castillas. No worries, Luke. It's good to see you in the chat. Pulling up the chapter now. All right. 1165. Reverberations. That's what this has all been about, hasn't it? Reverberations. We've been talking about this, the way that, the wheel of fate spins and affects the current story. So, the events of what happened in this chapter will likely reverberate. That's what Oda's telling us. We've seen so many things like Whitebeard saving Dragon, effectively making it so that Luffy could be born. Dragon saving Shanks, being responsible for his own son's just the trajectory, really. And now Kuma saved Teach, which paved the way for Bonnie to get borderline essayed by by Teach later on. That's what you put forth into the world, huh? All right. That being said, moving on, we've got Law, who we haven't seen in a very long time, sleeping on Beppo, but also sleeping on Zeus, but also sleeping on that sheep from Zoe. I don't remember the sheep's name. Faster Yomo. There we go. Faster Yomo's grand return. Okay. All right, so we got Rox here crying, somehow telepathically sending a message. Whether this is the voice of all things, that's my interpretation of this. We've got Garp. We got Garp here, which was my big question from the previous chapter. Did Garp also hear what Rox was saying? Confirmation. Garp has a voice of all things. So it travels through lineage. That's why Luffy's got it. It makes sense for him to have it. Okay, Rox just wants him to kill him. His attitude, his words, his attitude, and his expression. They're all telling different stories. We've got Roger blocking Zebek's sword. Garp's going in for a punch. Right to the face. Interesting that the Dome Reversi like kind of gives everybody Bartolomeo teeth, right? Isn't that how Bartolomeo's teeth overlap? Does that mean the dragon can hear the voice of all things? I mean, potentially. It'd be nice if that were the case. Don't need any more reasons for people to call him a fraud, right? I see some people complaining about the new thing that YouTube's doing with the handles instead of the usernames, like the chosen names. So bear with me, guys. You know, like if you're regulars here and your name is radically different from whatever your handle is, doesn't mean that I've forgotten you. It just means like I don't know the association between whatever this new name is and what your old name is. Old name was. So my apologies. There's nothing on my end that I can do to fix it. Apparently this is something YouTube rolled out to prevent people from impersonating other people, I guess. I don't know. But some people have found ways around it. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I'm on the next page here. We've got more impact panels of Garp's punch. Whew, really emphasizing everything here. It's getting pretty cinematic. We've got Roger still blocking. And Zebek is able to push them back. All right. As expected, this chapter is going to be a lot of fighting. We've got Garp and Roger being sent to two opposite sides. Jumping out. The sky is split. A rando Marine is observing that. Next page. Why does the sky look like that? It's split in half. We gotta evacuate before we're all dead. Steal the ship and get off the island. Alright, we got Kyo here. What? I mean, Rox's ship. Really think he's coming back? This is the end of the Rox pirates, says Shiki. Hurried to the shore. Rando's running. Although, this rando on the right in this panel has a pirate hat with a symbol in it that kind of looks familiar. I think it's reminding me of the Romance Dawn, like the pilot manga that Oda drew, where the pirate flag wasn't necessarily like all about Luffy's hat, but also had like an outstretched arm in it. That's what it kind of looks like. What did you say, Vice Admiral Garp? Once you've got every living resident and sailor on board, shove off and get out of here. Alright, so Garp's telling everybody to leave. What's happening on the island, Roger? Once Rayleigh and them get to you, wait off the coast. Still got the egg on that ship. That thing was around for a long time. Starting to think it wasn't really an egg and it's just a decoration. How long is that thing incubating here? Garp and Roger say, I'll be back.
Come with me if you want to live.
Will they? Will they? Will they be back? Alright. Rox, Roger, I came here intending to arrest you both. But yeah, my plan was to steal Shaki and the treasure and hightail it out of here. Instead, shall we team up for a minute? I have a number of issues with this, but I can't afford to let him run free. It's giving, hey Cook, we partner up for 3 seconds, 10 seconds, or whatever it was? Yeah, that should be enough. Rocks. We got, jackets are off. This is the equivalent of putting the hat backwards, putting the bandana on. Getting serious. Garp's getting acrobatic over here. Roger is looking more and more like Ace in every single one of these panels. He's getting knocked back. Look, you've got the curse. Garp's got rocks by the shoe. Is there any way to break it? Gives him a toss. Roger with an attack, just wake up. Faster. Roger's going to keep fighting until we've evacuated the island. That hockey's off the charts! Got a spot for me on the ship, I assume? So Gloriosa leaves with the Roger pirates? Oh, well, she's got a thing for Roger, that's right. So that's what she wants. Page 10. Alright, catching up with Linlin and Kaido. Listen up, Kaido, you owe me for the rest of your life. You're gonna make good on that. Bad chance. It was finders, keepers, Linlin, and you lost. Just watch me. I'm gonna create a new crew where violence rules all. And you think you're hot stuff now. Keep dreaming of the day you'll beat me. It'll never come. Come on, Linlin, let's get moving. Carry this treasure. I'll come and collect one day. And I'll be waiting to crush your spirit. Okay? Probably all we'll see of them. Feels pretty final. Rox has Roger on the ropes. Moving to page 11. Alright, catching up with Whitebeard. You're the one who knocked down that mountain, aren't you, Newgate? Who are you? Looks like your crew's falling apart. Name's Graham. Polo Graham. Captain of the Polo Pirates. Man, we were talking about this. Like, that guy looks like Marco. Like, Oda deliberately did put someone in the background that looked like Marco. We weren't seeing things. This probably means that Marco's name, because Oda's a troll, and couldn't help himself, is Marco Polo. Polo Marco.
Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself, yeah.
This is sensational.
Surprise, motherfucker.
I'm a big fan of yours. Say, you got no ship to go back to, huh? Team up with me instead. Get out of my hair. This is so crazy. But now that we know Marco's last name, like, now I really want to see Marco's, like, actual bounty poster, because it definitely says Polo Marco. Alright, now we've got Stussy. Gil Bastar with... Yo, are you... Who has Perona's fruit? Gil Bastar? Or does, Gansui have it? Gansui as the Mr. Five fruit. That's right. So Gil Pastar has Perona's ghost fruit. In Wanted, Gil Pastar had a ghost fruit. Oh my god. Got Polo and Perona's fruit, just revealed in the background, just in the background. I love this stuff. Like, just seeing the, you know, that was. I'm pretty sure if I went back to some of my old like discussions about what I wanted from God Valley, it was like exactly this, like seeing old fruits that we recognize just being used.
You can't keep getting away with it! He can't keep getting away with it!
That's why he's the goat, baby. The goat. All right, what are you doing, dragon? Calm down. Moving on to page 12. No, what are you people doing? Did you know what we were aiding here? Okay, dragon's making a move. I like this. Put them on our ship right now. We have to rescue them. And if anyone argues against it, I'll execute him on the spot. Okay? This isn't going to end here, dragon. It better not. Rayleigh, come on, where are you going? Don't you dare follow us. Take the ship out into open water and wait. That island would never have existed, understood? Look at those eyes. This panel of Saturn is going to put a lot of things into perspective here. I mean, you know, it's given Hakuba, it's given Mihawk. Like, is Mihawk possessed? Like, is something possessing that man? Very interesting. All right, 13. Narrator coming in. Oh God, Brandon. Brandon super chat said something strange. Who you get a call? Ghost Bastar. The God Valley Incident. S level top secret classification. Records of clandestine operations and special hazard pay. For Naval Base G11, Cipher Pole number 6. Registry of participants in the human hunt expunged. Site of event, God Valley. Island location area, population details erased. Number of fatalities unknown. Garp, did you know about that enormous monster the government has? They call themselves the good guys. I can't believe it either. If you're gonna quit the Marines, come join us. Don't be an idiot. If I quit, who's going to watch for the rank and file? It all comes down to mass, doesn't it, Garp? Mass? What do you mean? First of all, armament hockey is a power that doesn't yield to the devil fruits. On top of that, it was Wreath in Conqueror's hockey. There's no way it couldn't have hurt him. Yeah, but he was guarding with Conquerors too, so they cancel out. Exactly my point. There's no damage unless we surpass that. We need to reach a bigger level. It's all down to who wears out first will lose. There's no way to keep up with a monster like that thing. So you want to hit him with a critical mass of conquerors. Exactly. Don't even think about whatever stamina you'd need after that. In that case, you're saying we don't come back from this alive. If we can pull this off, all three of us would be down for the count. But if we miss, we're done for. Okay, they plant. Listen up, Rocks. I don't know what I can say to console you. I don't know what happened to you either. But there's one thing I do recognize. I recognize your sorrow. Don't cry, you idiot. God of fire. Infinitum. Infinitum. God of fire. That's Roger using an attack called God of Fire. Is it Entei? Like literally what Ace used against Blackbeard? I gotta know if that's what the Japanese said. Diente. Ace? Come on. God of Fire Ace. That just calls into so many things. It just calls into question so many things about like fate in the story and all this stuff. Like that this man would name one of his most powerful attacks God of Fire Ace, have a son, name him Ace, and then he gets the fire fruit. There are no such thing as coincidences. Infinitum Explosion. It's like, now I need Luffy to like have an attack called like Infinitum Dawn Explosion or something. World government attempted to cover up everything that happened here. Oh, they really got him with this attack too. I was so caught up with the names of it, I missed the fact that like this man got ripped to shreds. But the downfall of Rocksteady is back, and his lawless band of followers, the Rocks Pirates, wreaked havoc on their era, cast unmistakable reverberations that shook the very world. To be continued. I imagine we're taking a break because we just had 3 in a row. It doesn't say whether or not I'm Viz. Well, as mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I said that this will probably end the fight. I couldn't imagine the Oda going more than one chapter with this because it's a flashback and not like a main story fight. I feel like it's satisfying, though. I hope it was satisfying for everybody, you know, that read and, you know, the community at large. I think that Oda took his, you know, his time to really make this feel impactful and feel like, you know, a full fight, even though it's only one chapter. You know, given how much this had been hyped up, right? For years, literally years. We've been waiting for this. This is, I do have to say that this has got to be some of Oda's best like fight paneling in a long time. There's a lot of attention to detail here, and there's a lot of care put into this chapter. From that perspective, I find it really interesting. Some good stuff here. But as always, you know, it's like everybody knows I don't read this story for the fights. The fights are like an added bonus to everything. So when I read a chapter like this, like my favorite moments are just seeing Polo Graham, the revelation that Marco's name is Polo Marco, and the fact that Gil Bastar had Perona's fruit. And, you know, I do have to say that in relation to the Gil Bastar having Perona's fruit thing, this is what I meant the last week or the week before, whenever we got the thing about Ganswy having Mr. Five's bomb fruit, and I was upset that he was also like shooting boogers. From a recognizable standpoint, like if he's making the same stance that Gem does, right? When Mr. Five is using the fruit, like you're automatically creating connection through the reader, like, oh wow, boogers, explosions, this is Mr. Five's fruit. But it also creates a little bit of a disconnect where it's like, how does everybody utilize these things the exact same way? Like there really should be some sort of originality to each individual user, which is what made the Captain John bit, bringing all the treasure to him, really fun. We've kind of seen Kid do stuff like that, but you know, I still really love that panel, and that's something that really sticks out to me and might be my favorite panel from this entire flashback. Funny enough, something about that, I just really like the imagery of all those treasure chests flying to him. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that when you look at the ghost next to Gil Bastar, it at least looks different than Perona's ghosts, which have like the round heads, and this one has, you know, sort of like a Bart Simpson haircut, you know, looking like a, you know, it's got hair or whatever. I don't know. I don't even know how you would describe that. But it's like that little detail is exactly what I want. That's what I was getting at with the Ganswy thing. Like, I would have loved to have seen him do something, you know, even if it was equally as gross as throwing a booger, something that wasn't throwing a booger. At least here, like, you're seeing the ghost, it looks a little different. It shows that, yeah, this was 38 years ago. These people are not going to use the fruits the exact same way as someone 38 years later. Yeah, Roger said, can Gil use his ghost power to summon extra arms? See, now that's an interesting thing, too, that I feel like needs to get explained, because it does seem like he does have extra arms in, I think it's in the 1096 panel, and then obviously at Thriller Bark, his corpse has extra hands. That could be explained as Hogback, like, putting extra arms on the corpse, maybe. But then it doesn't really explain why it looks like he's got 4 arms.
Savage.
In 1096. So I don't have an answer for that. It's one of those things where we're gonna need some SBSs, but we'll see. Guardian Trees, super appreciate it, said, proof Divine Departure isn't Shanks and Roger's strongest attack. Also, for fruit users, the will of the fruit might influence users to do the same. So I like that, right? If it was explained like that. That the very first person who ever used the bomb fruit went into their nose and like shot boogers out. And then the soul that's in the fruit sort of possesses the user of the ability to like give them the idea, like, oh yeah, use me this way. Then okay, then I get it, but I need that explained. But that's like a good headcanon for it, so I like that. Kaki09, member for 30 months, said best flashback in my opinion. It's gonna be amazing when animated. Zebek is such a great character as well. R.I.P. Yep. The arms of the angels fly. R.I.P. Zebek. It's been a great 4 or 5 months getting to know you. Crush not bringing up a good point. Semimaru using the same hand motion that Bartolomeo did with the cross fingers thing. So from that perspective, like, Guardian Trees might be onto something with these fruits having something embedded in them where everybody who uses the fruit has some sort of muscle memory attached to like whatever the original user or the previous users had done. Yeah, Rox died without a smile on his face. It might be because of the effects of Domi Reversi. It could also be that, you know, he didn't get to go out on his own terms. Or it could be that he's not a true D. Something like that. Shout out to Alejandro Salas. Superden said, Roger called Emu the Black Monster. Seems to me that Emu is actually a shadow of some sort, showing what Emu is. Also, Luffy's daughter will be named Dawn.
Savage.
Or Anne. That's an interesting takeaway, you know, especially since we were talking about a few weeks ago. Where I brought up, like, does Emu actually look like that, or is Oda still hiding it, and they're actually, like, you know, a water monster of some sort, or, you know, some other element, and it's just in silhouette. This implies that, no, that is their actual form. They are some sort of shadow creature. Just KKII said, I wonder if emo is a manifestation of desire or greed. Wonder if the way to win is to sacrifice your dreams so others can accomplish theirs. I'm unsure. That's an interesting idea, and it's very cerebral. I feel like there's a lot of One Piece fans that would take issue with that. That if the final fight in the story was won through brains rather than brawn in a shonen manga, I'm okay with it. I'm just thinking about what the fan reaction would be. Would the hollow fruit work on Emu? That's interesting. Maybe Emu's too negative. Full Metal Alchemist already did what just KKII was saying. Well, yeah. I think that if we end up getting the thing that I'm expecting, where Luffy Domi reverses people, but makes them Gear 5, Luffy will be able to do something that's both cerebral and brawn at the same time. Because he'll be beating Emu at their own game for potentially a collective attack with all of his friends. And maybe it'll be a thing where they all just shine so brightly, the power of the sun, that they expunge his shadow. Or maybe, you know, Luffy just does that on his own, right? Like, if he's a shadow and Luffy is the sun, it could be just as easy as that. Creating enough light, becoming so bright that there's no there's no room for a shadow. It just dissipates and disappears. Brandon said, "Not my joke." Could you imagine if Marco's kid was named Polo Ralph Lauren? So that is something that Oda would do, though. I don't think he'd go so far to like put the Lauren. He'd pick one of the names, so it'd be like Polo Lauren, like, you know, like Marco's daughter, or Polo Ralph son, or has two kids, Polo Ralph and Polo Lauren. That'd be great. What are the chances that Graham has the Phoenix fruit? Unlikely. Because I feel like if you have the Phoenix fruit, and this was something that I really wanted to happen in Wano, and I feel like it's like a missed opportunity. I feel like if you have the Phoenix fruit, like, you gotta die and then be reborn. Like, I feel like just like Brook's fruit, it has to house a second life. And it's just, has Marco used that yet? Has that already happened? Is he already on his second life? Or, you know, like, that's why I was like, you know, all throughout one, I was like, Marco's got to die and then be reborn from the ashes of the flame. But maybe Oda's saving that for somewhere later, or if it never happens, I feel like it would be a missed opportunity given the Phoenix lore. Marco's one of those characters where it's like, I really like Marco a lot. Like, might be in my like top 10. I've mained him on several different occasions in different video games, and like, he's a fun character that I feel is one of the more underutilized in the story, especially considering like that they were hyped up to be this character that would play a role in Wano, and just kind of they were just sidelined and commented on everything. Marco should have been in the action, like fighting Kaido. He should have been the one on the roof holding Kaido back instead of Yamato. Like, this is a guy who led the Whitebeard pirates after Whitebeard died. You know, fought in the Payback War, which who knows if we'll ever get that flashback. And I just think there's more that could have been done. Not that they needed a lot more, but especially considering that I would say that Marco's a reasonably popular character also. There's more that could be done. Marco gave a message just to show up himself. Yeah, the Marco message thing is... if I had to create a list of, like, top 5, like, moments in One Piece, like, Marco's message is in there. Along with, until it's explained, Rouge's 20-month pregnancy. And I think it would actually be hard to fill the 5 slots, because I'm struggling to even think of other ones. Like, they're not like at the tip of my tongue or anything like that. But If I ever could make a list, I know that those two are there. Hell. Yeah, there you go. That's definitely there. Not the actual death, but the moment Potsoon, the doctor, hands the head wrap back and says, I think you forgot this. Whatever it is. Oh yeah, Kinnymon coming back. Farting Kinnymon. Yeah, that's one of them. Kinnymon does not need to be alive. Looking way back on the chat here. Roger's attack was a pun, said Saeed. Full attack name is Hinokagu Tsuchinu Eisu. Eisu is wise man. Jordan Vance, Randy, I've seen people say with the Wano cover story over, it made Wano even worse. Do you agree? Could I get an explanation of what specifically in the cover story brought people to that conclusion? Because the Wano cover story was just kind of there. I mean, was it like the Moria stuff? Like, why didn't the Moria stuff come out? Look, Wano has some great highs. We've talked about the lows. Like, if Queen is actually Frankie's dad, like, that not getting explored, awful. If Sasaki is Chimney's deadbeat father, that not getting explored, that's a shame. Zoro's past being in an SBS, that sucks.
Savage.
Kid and Killer's flashbacks being in an SBS, when I think spending a chapter getting into a little bit of that would have made them feel like they were really integral to the arc. Everything that we just talked about with Marco. I feel like Denjiro was hyped up in Act 1 and got put to the wayside as well. Dawn Knight said, I'm just saying Yamato on the rooftop made more story sense than Marco. I disagree. I think, but that's personally, like, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, like, I don't know, but Yamato felt like a late add to the arc. I've said this before. There's things about Yamato's character that I like. I think they should have just been set up earlier. I feel like there's a version of Wano where Yamato didn't even exist, and it was Denjiro protecting Momonosuke, which is what the story seemed like it was going to be setting up towards. and Marco is the one fighting on the roof, giving Luffy a chance to like get back. Then you have a reason why this character is even here. So I don't know. It's like you just introduced Yamato. Now they're fighting toe to toe with this character that is so immense to the framework of the story, to the weight of this world. They're a brand new character. They also say that they want to join the crew. Then you start getting into the power scaling of the crew. Like, if Yamato joins, like, now they're going to be, you know, potentially the strongest member of the crew. You know, they're giving Luffy a run for his money. Whereas, like, if it was someone like Marco, I have an idea in my head of, like, where Marco is in the tier of everything. Like, this was Whitebeard's right hand. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see Marco going up against Kaido. Because suddenly, like, at that point, that's then, you know, if Marco's, like, kind of putting up a good fight, now I know what Luffy's got to, the level that Luffy's got to reach, more than I do by just seeing this new character you just introduced. And if Marco gets beaten, that means more to me than seeing Yamato get beaten. So that's kind of that's my standpoint, because anything with Yamato having more meaning to be there and everything, like, that's all fabricated in Act 3. If we started in Act 1 and started getting teased that Kaido had a child, blah 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 blah, then I'm like, now I'm looking forward to it. I'm getting a little bit of lore. We're building it up. But I don't even need all of that lore if it's Marco, because there's already lore. There's 600 chapters of lore. So, Guardian Tree Super said, I don't think Queen's done yet. Neomad's come back. Yeah, that's gonna happen. Just KKII Super said, Dragon finally pulling up soon. Also, any stocks that paid off you didn't expect. I like random characters like Pearl and Edison, so I'm hit or miss. Are you talking about, like, stocks and characters for God Valley, or just overall? Because it's like, you're talking about Pearl. Like, I definitely had stocks in... I've had Gin stocks since 2002. So seeing Gin at Hachinosu... Man, that was... If those stocks were real... Here's my thing, is that I think... I don't know if we're going to see Luffy before 2026 at this point. And if we do, it's going to be like the very last chapter of 2025. If I was Oda and I had just done this flashback, I'm not going right back to Elbaf. I'm going to show Dragon. I'm going to show Blackbeard. I'm going to show the Cross Guild. And I'm going to dedicate, like, chapters to this. I'm going to finish out the year. I'm going to do all of this stuff. I'm going to set up everything for the end game. Then I'm going to come back to Luffy in a big way, with the audience already knowing and expecting a couple of things to happen that may even occur in Elbaf. So, Dragon pulling up soon? Maybe we'll at least we should at least understand what's next for them. And I don't think that Oda's ever going to have a better opportunity in the story than coming right out of this flashback to set all of that up before going back to Elbaf. But maybe we do go right back. And And if we do, then I think that Elbaf is a stepping stone, and that the arc will end not too long after that, so that we can do all of that stuff, so that it plays into whatever's next. My worry is that since this did start somehow, and it's easy to forget that it did start this way. It started as a Loki flashback, so then it's like, do we have to go back to Loki when it's done? I don't know. Jordan Vance said, from what I've seen from other One Piece YouTubers and Reddit, they talk about the Moria reveal and Yamato not leaving Wano to join the Straw Hats was bad. Oda decided that Yamato was not going to leave and join the Straw Hats because Oda probably wants Yamato to be there when Blackbeard or the Cross Guild or whoever is going to get Pluton shows up. And then Oda will use Yamato as a device to show how strong they are. Maybe they get kidnapped by, if it's Blackbeard, maybe Yamato gets kidnapped and put on their crew or something. But to the same tangent that I just went on about how, I didn't need an explanation of everything with Marco if Marco was on the roof. Yamato being on the roof, now I have like an idea in my head of like how strong this person is. So if Blackbeard shows up and like handily defeats Yamato, right? Now I'm like, oh man, Blackbeard's a problem. Blackbeard's already a problem, but it's like it's that kind of stuff. Like if Blackbeard does to Yamato what Shanks did to Kid, that sets some things up for the story in a way. And then Yamato has meaning in Wano. So it's like Wano is one of those things, just like Thriller Bark and some other arcs, that will get better over time once a lot of the like things that don't make sense that were strictly for setup get paid off. That's another thing that we've always talked about with Wano. The same way that people feel about Wano right now is kind of the same way people felt during Thriller Bark Weekly, because it set up a lot of like things that didn't make sense then. And I think people have gone back to Thriller Bark with like a fresher meaning, a fresher understanding. I mean, you can even say the same thing for Skypiea. People are like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And then, like recent years, it's like, oh wow, like Skypiea is cool, and it's like, yeah, get on, glad you're on the train. I was one of those people during Thriller Bark where I was like, I was really excited for this arc, but I don't know. And then I go back to it now and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I like it. Not all of it. There's some things that just can't be fixed in that arc, but definitely the end is the best part. We all know this. Crocodile's gonna beat Yamato and get Pluton. Now, if that happens, like, I'm gonna be, whew. Even if it's Mihawk, because it's like, here's the thing, right? We saw Blackbeard already take down Law. We saw, we saw Shanks take out Kid. I think we need Crocodile and Mihawk to like really show out and show that they're gonna stand on the top of this world as well. So, yeah. Chair piece. Feels like we've been in the flashback longer than we've actually been on Elbaf. I don't see that as a bad thing. Mihawk versus Yamato might be hype. Yeah, I agree. You know, it's like I've said that there's the possibility of Avalo Pizarro showing up and fusing with the island and then unearthing Pluton. But there's also like the cooler way, the way that would actually like is if Crocodile pulls up and then like disintegrates, you know, the land with his hand and unearths Pluton. I just want to gas Crocodile up. Like I don't know. How long do I think it would take the live action to reach this arc? Oh my God. We're in like season 15 territory or something. Like, don't quote me on that. Like, I'm just throwing a random number out to be funny. Ooh. Buggy versus Momo. That's right. Well, Buggy and Momo know each other, right? So that would be kind of interesting. Double F Lemon said a panel from behind of Croc of him with his hand on the wall crumbling it, and then the last shot of him smiling would go so hard. Oh, you know I'm there for that. Bruton. Neon Roger said, I think we're at 13 chapters for this flashback. Odin was 15 chapters. That's interesting. Now, something that I would like to point out as well is math piece wise, we are in like the Odin flashback territory. 967, he laughed. Does that mean that 1167 will be a big chapter? Potentially. It'll be 200 chapters of Randy making content, because my first piece of content was 967. You know, for YouTube publicly. Which is a crazy thing to think about. We didn't start streaming until like maybe 997. But we're in the territory for some big reveals over the next two chapters as long as the flashback continues. I'm sure some people would think that it's going to end given that the narrator started, talking about God Valley, but there's still a lot of things to finish up. We've got to go back to Elbaf. We need to see Harold's reaction to this news. We need to start crawling our way up through the timeline, eventually landing on Harold's Domi Reversi. But I also think that we'll get an epilogue of God Valley. I think Oda needs to redraw the panels from Volume 4 Billion so that we have an actual canon version where Roger does not have a mustache, and them finding Shanks. Something that would really be interesting is if Oda took like 3 or 4 chapters and actually just sort of like took this as an opportunity to give us a bunch of lore that is sort of up in the air. Like, what if continuing from this omniscient narration just starts jumping through years, shows the birth of the Revolutionary Army, the freedom fighters, actually shows the reverberations that are being talked about in this narration, and we see the reverberations over the years. We see things like Hancock getting captured. What happened to Shaki? What happened to Gloriosa? What Stussy subjecting herself to the cloning projects. Maybe we will see things like some of these Rocks pirates becoming warlords. Captain John's death, some of these other guys' deaths, how they ended up with Moria. Like, those would subsequently be like some of the craziest chapters we've ever gotten if Oda just decided to just unload that information, because a lot of it doesn't necessarily have to do with the end game of the story. It's just paying off readers for paying attention. One thing that I am a little disappointed at, now that I'm thinking about it and remembering, the other thing I really wanted out of this flashback was to see Roger get inspired to go after the poneglyphs. Leo Legendario is talking about seeing Rox's last words. Would he have last words in the condition that he's in? It would be nice if he did. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I don't know if that's possible. But, man, I'd like to see Roger have like an aside with his crew after all of this, where he's just like, it just implies that he wants to change the way he's going about his journey. That he wants to understand what's been going on. Voice of all things can make it happen. That's true. That's true. I just don't think we're done here, and if we are, it's gonna suck. Are we on break or not? I mean, I imagine we are since we had 3 chapters in a row, but I just want to get the confirmation here. Yes, break. Okay, figure. We are. Take a look at this chapter again, see if there's anything else that I can pull out. But I don't think there's gonna be much, considering it's mostly fighting. Might start winding down soon. I feel like I've hit a lot of the targets. Love the polo bit. Love it. Love Gil Bastard. The dragon moment is really good too. It's really intense and he's going to execute people to save people. Very radical. But it's moments like this that just make me that make me want to call into question how people don't know that he's Monkey D. Dragon when Dragon the Revolutionary becomes the most wanted man in the world. It would make more sense for people to have thought that he died here, got away, got his fruit, whatever, and then part of me wishes that like his actual name wasn't Dragon and Dragon was like a code name. Because the fact that Dragon is his name and then the world knows Revolutionary Dragon but don't know that he's Monkey D. Dragon is like when Tim Drake stopped being Robin and started calling himself the Drake. Like, bro, that's your name. What are you doing? Shin said, I find the Kaido Big Mom panels wasteful from Oda unless they're coming back in the present time. No, I see them as serving what we already know of them. Because they talk about all of this throughout Wano. So this is just the setup for the things that we've already seen.
You loyal.
Boogie Punk, member for 24 months. Shout out to the 3D2Y right there. did Gaban and Rayleigh help with the fight? It seemed implied from this chapter that like they were turning around to go and help them, but that doesn't seem to have happened at all. Where does that part really turn around? It's probably going to be a thing where after this attack, Garp and Roger, like what was set up in their dialogue, fall over, like basically on the verge of death. Like they put every single ounce of their being into that attack. So it's going to be up to Rayleigh and Gaban to get Garp and Roger out of there. So it's going to end up being like the scene in Alabasta where, you know, Rayleigh's got Roger, you know, they start. I could see a thing where Rayleigh and Gaban are both helping Roger up, and they're getting him out of there, and then Roger's like, no, get him too. You know, like when Luffy tells Zoro to go and get Smoker. So then, like, Gaban is helping Garp, and Rayleigh's got Roger, and they're bringing him to the shore or something like that. It would be cool if there, you know, was an unexpected altercation that happened after all of this. You know, whether it's some of the Holy Knights or Saturn or something, even though Saturn seems to be on the ship that's leaving, so it's probably not that, but yeah. E.M. Rogers said, this implied Garp already started Sword to protect rank and file Marines from Gorzik. I'd love that. We'll see. Shout out to AD Wolf. Appreciate the super. So, do you think that the main fight in Elbaf is Luffy versus Loki while he's in Domi Reversi mode, but will save him instead of killing him like Zebek and Herald's Fate? Whether it is Luffy versus Loki or not, I think that that's what we're getting to. Like, that's been my big prediction since we saw Domi Reversi, is that Luffy would be able to undo it somehow through the powers of his fruit and everything like that, which would then explain why the government and why Imu, you know, wants that fruit, because it's a counter, right? Luffy has on occasion been the natural enemy to the gods, right? By not only being a D, but by also being rubber against the lightning man. So having that trend continue and being the son to Imu's shadow,
Savage.
should be able to release Dory and Brogy from their trance, potentially Loki, maybe even somebody on the crew. Like, I think that that's where the most devastating thing would happen, is if someone on the crew gets Domi Reversi, because that's when we know, like, okay, this has to get, like, reversed. We have to Uno reverse this Reversi. That's when it's going to get intense. And so far, every instance that we've seen, at least in this flashback of Domi Reversi, the person who is whammied dies. There is no undoing whatever this curse is. Loki getting whammied would, from a shonen manga standpoint, be like, wow, here's the tallest creature that we've ever seen. I think he's either Oars sized or bigger than Oars. I can't remember like what it was, but either way, that would make it a thing where the entire crew has to go up against this massive, like nothing will ever get bigger than this. So from that perspective, like it's interesting for that to happen. But I feel like since that's the expected thing, Oda's got to do something different. I don't necessarily want to see Loki get Domi reversied. Could be cool. Could just feel like Oars 2.0. I'd like to see Loki and Luffy team up against other people that are reversied. Like this, Loki's already dealt with his Shanks, Zebek, getting Domi reversied, dying, never being able to fulfill his own personal desire to like ride the seas with him. He's then seen his father get Domi reversied. Had to kill him in the same way that Garp and Roger are here, right? If somebody that Loki cares about got Domi reversied, like maybe Hyrden gets Domi reversied, right? I like Hyrden. I don't necessarily want to see that. But if we lean into this idea of Loki as a character and not an antagonist, right? More as an anti-hero, it would be more interesting to see that Loki actually does have feelings for Hyrden. Doesn't want to kill his brother. Knows because of what happened to his father it's the only way. Luffy shows him another way. Now a change can happen within the character of Loki. He's seeing that there was always another path. He's seeing that he's not the sun god, right? Luffy's the true sun god. It's more powerful if Loki, who believes he's the sun god, who has dealt with this before, who thinks that there is no way around this, sees firsthand a person that shows him a way around this. So that's my more nuanced expectation and hope for what happens when we get back to Elbaf. Stereotypical shonen battle manga is the biggest guy gets whammied and then everybody works together to take him down. Time Lord said, I think Loki's an anti-hero with the heart of a protagonist. Yeah, Brandon. It's like, to me, Loki is the Vegeta role. So, you know, I just want to get to the part where it's funny too, because we kind of already got it in at the end of Egghead when Bonnie transformed. But like, you know, it's the equivalent of the father-son Kamehameha, and then, you know, it's not enough, and then here comes the key blast from, you know, another way. And, you know, that's kind of how I see Loki's contributions in this arc. Like, he should be the person that like reluctantly doesn't want to get involved in the fight, but ultimately like shows that he does care for his people. And, you know, like I just think it's more powerful is like if the guy who everybody in the town has hated chained up and threw him down in the well, like it's way more powerful for that guy to go out of his way to save his kingdom, to save his people, despite the way that they treated him his whole life, the way they looked at him when he was a child, than for all of those people to now gang up on him and see him be evil. Do you guys get where I'm coming from with this? I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to see Domi reverse Loki. I think there's more story if he's the one that doesn't get Domi reversed. Emil said, how about Reversi Yarul? Ja Rule. He's also pretty big. I'm not threatened by that though. You know, like I don't care if the old 400-year-old man gets reversied. I'm threatened if Ripley gets reversied. I'm threatened if Hyridin does. I'm threatened if Usopp gets reversied. I'm threatened if Robin gets reversied. You know, something like that. Frankie gets reversied. Then as a reader, I'm like, what do I do? Loki gets reversied. I'm not going, oh wow. I'm like, oh, this is the expected thing. Just KKII supered and said, has Impel Down lost luster? Seems many crews can break in with little worry at this point in the story. What prisoners or staff would pose a threat? Outside of Alabasta, Impel Down's my favorite arc in the story. And I love it. And I know you're not talking about from like a story standpoint. Impel Down, I feel like, has to play a role. There has to be a 2.0. And unfortunately, there has to be another breakout, which will inevitably make it seem entirely ineffective. But I think as long as it's been active, which could potentially be centuries, Shiki being the only person to leave before Luffy stages a mass breakout, I mean, that's a pretty good track record. But we're going to dismantle this whole system, so I think losing its luster is effectively part of the story. We want Bon Clay to get out of there. Doflamingo and his gang should join the Cross Guild. Possibility that Bartolomeo was taken there after beaten by Shanks. Maybe Sai and Leo were also taken there for attacking Charlos. You know, and then now I'm interested and invested because there's a bunch of characters here that I recognize, and this could get interesting, right? Maybe Damalo Black is becomes a part of the breakout as well, right? Because the last time we saw him, he was in prison. So. Impersonating Kid. It was fantastic. Magellan is still top tier. We've never seen him get beaten on screen. Morley also escaped without anyone knowing 100 years ago, yeah. Yeah, I know that he was not in Impel Down. That's why I said he was in prison, not Impel Down. But he could be transferred, is what I'm saying. We could eventually see him. There's an opportunity that Law gets taken as Impel Down. We've talked about this before too, right? Law gets intercepted after the Blackbeard fight. Beppo and Law become the central figures of Impel Down 2.0. Law has to work, and it's like it's a greatest hits where Law is Luffy and Doflamingo is Crocodile. You have Barto and the other Grand Fleet members, filling some of the other roles like Bucky and Mr. 3, etc. I could see Senor Pink being very helpful. I like that kind of stuff. Like, I think there's a fun element to it. Marco may be involved in that. Stussy may be involved in that. Getting Weevil out of there, like there's gonna be something that needs to be done in Impel Down, and it's we need it. We need it to go on. Now, Brandon's spitting here to putting some things into play in a way that I could see Oda doing for sure. Law being the ace in Impel Down makes so much sense. Both Ace and Law were struggling with self-worth. They had people die for them to live. They both had suit crews, Heart and Spade. I could see a callback to the scene where Garp and Ace are having a conversation in Impel Down. Garp on the other side of the bars while Ace is chained up, but you reverse it to where it's Law is in the chains and Sengoku is standing there having a conversation with him, wishing that things could have been different, because Law is technically like inherited milk grandson after adopting Corazon in a way. But I don't need a whole Marineford to get Law back. I think in that situation, like, it's just everybody gets out. And maybe Sengoku is there while the breakout is happening and like kind of does his own version of letting Luffy, when Garp let Luffy punch him. Like, he goes into his Buddha form but lets everybody leave. They're like, you could have stopped that, couldn't you? But he didn't want to stop it because of Corazon. You're kind of hitting a bunch of the same beats, which, that's why I called it like a greatest hits. It's not necessarily anything new there. It's a lot of fan service. But it's the type of fan service that I'm okay with. I'd rather like it seem like we're setting up some sort of like Marineford with Law or whatever. I don't think that they need to set up a whole like public execution for Trafalgar Law in the same way that they were going to do it for Roger's son, it'd basically be a version of everything, but like if Luffy got down there and was able to just get Ace out and they all leave together. You know, nothing needs to be dragged out. I think that it's gonna be it for this week. Let's get our last questions in, guys. Anything else that anybody wants to say, wants to talk about? Anything that anybody wants to bring up from the past week that people have been discussing that maybe I missed that we didn't get to talk about? Go for another couple of minutes here, and then I'm gonna let everybody enjoy the weekend. Alex Marin said, "I think Law's sword. They need the boost." Hey, look, I think that would be great for Law's character. I think it would give him, you know, more purpose to stick in the story. This impelled down idea is something that also keeps him in the story, especially if Law, like, you know, gets taken to Cross Guild, gets enamored with Buggy, uses his abilities on Buggy. Buggy is immune to Law, is Law's natural enemy, and then Law decides that he wants to join Buggy. Be funny. I still like the Laws and sword idea. I don't know if that's the way the story is going to go. It may end up being a thing where Law becomes sword rather than having been sword the whole time, but we'll see. Another take, Garp will be the ace, Blackbeard the executioner, Hachinosu the marine ford. That I like.
Savage.
That's an inversion. That's the way to flip everything over. It's kind of like, you know, putting bounties on marines, what the Cross Guild's doing, right? The grand final war takes place on Pirate Island, like the, you know, rather than the headquarters of Marines. That is that's exciting to me. That's fun. I like that. How am I feeling about the live action casting announcements? Love them. Character's gonna be great. Just wait, guys. Ball calls Garp boss. That would be insane. Oda had the most direct exposition for hockey rules and power scaling this chapter that he's ever had. That's true. I believe a lot of direct exposition will continue for various things until end of series. I think they're going to have to. We need to understand these things in order to buy the stuff that's going to be coming. Shout out to Brian Carter, 2468 Super, and said, I don't know if it's been asked, but how many more chapters do you think the flashback will go? I think that the flashback has the potential to go all the way to the end of the year, which, you know, we're already almost midway into November. By the time we have another chapter, we'll be basically at the end of November. So Oda likes structure, and I think that he could totally be operating under the pretense of, like, I've got until the end of the year to do whatever I want with these chapters, and I think that would be fun. Whether I'm right or wrong doesn't matter, but I think, you know, Oda does try to save big moments for the first and last chapters of the year. So that's why I think we probably won't see Luffy until the last chapter of December or the first chapter of January. And I think we've still got some things to cover in this flashback. I think we got to go back to Elbaf. We have to see Harold's reaction to this. We eventually have to see Harold's death. We need the epilogue here on God Valley with Roger leaving. We need finding Shanks in the treasure chest. I'd like to see something that shows Roger switching his motivations a little bit. If we continue this omniscient narrator trend, I'd like to just sort of start going through the years, follow other people, see the birth of the Revolutionary Army / the freedom fighters. Show us the reverberations. All of these characters that were, big parts of everything. Give us updates over the years until we make it back to the present. All of these big events that have sort of been teased over the years, like just get it all out in the open, because I don't think we're ever going to have as good of a time period where we already don't know who the point of view is of this to begin with. Because this is all stuff that Loki shouldn't necessarily be. It started as a Loki flashback, but it is not a Loki flashback anymore. No one is telling the story other than the narrator. So we can be told whatever at this point. Red Hood, member of 34 months, said, "Howdy, Captain. How was the chapter? I just got in." It's great. My favorite parts were seeing Polo Graham, and Gil Bastar having the ghost fruit, having Corona's fruit. Those are my favorite moments. Fantastic. Crush said, "Someone mentioned a cool idea that this flashback in God Valley transitions to Garp talking with Blackbeard about God Valley. See, now that I love, right? Which just goes into what I was talking about before, that this is an opportunity where Oda does not have to go right back to Elbaf. And he shouldn't. He should take this opportunity to go ahead and tell us everything else that's going on. Because if you do that, right, and Garp goes, and we go to Garp, and he's telling Blackbeard the story of what happened to his father. Amazing. Love that. Need it. Then we can jump to Dragon. Real time. What's he doing? Jump to the Cross Guild. Because we're already back in the present at that point. Then once we've set up all these key pieces, what's going on with Vivi? Then we get to Elbaf. Then we continue everything from there. That's what I want. Problem with that is it cuts Harold out of his own flat. Yeah, because the whole Harold thing still has to happen. And that's the problem with having an omniscient narrator, but starting from the point of view of somebody else telling a story. It almost implies that we have to go back to Loki to finish the story, but I don't know. I want to see everybody else before we go back to Elbaf. Is it Ralph, though? I think that's it, guys. I'm good. Chapter was fun. excited to see where we go from here. We've just got more bangers to come. I think that 1167 is going to be a chapter to look out for because it's going to be 200 chapters after he laughed. So there's going to be something important there. Next chapter is going to lead into whatever that's going to end up being. The restrained teaching the dark side of the Force, then sent him loose upon the world for vengeance. Oda's not beating the mom allegations if that happens. Never beating it. Alright guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with me as always. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. See everybody for 1166.
Come with me if you want to live.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.